Little girl said, "Don't drink that." A hardened biker is saved from a poisoned glass by the haunting eyes of a child he doomed. This single moment ignites a war with his own club and a dangerous path to redemption. Can he protect the girl before his past consumes them all? If you're new here, subscribe and comment your location. Now let's begin. The whiskey glass sat on the diner counter, catching the ugly fluorescent light. Crank stared into the brown liquid. It was his ritual, one drink for the road, one drink to quiet the ghost that rode with him now. The ghost of a man named David, a bookkeeper who looked surprised when Crank pulled the trigger a year ago. David had a family, a wife, a little girl. Crank's hand, tattooed and scarred, reached for the glass. He didn't see the small figure in the booth by the window. She had been watching him since he walked in. Her name was Lily. She was 7. Her eyes, too old for her face, followed his every move. She knew his face. She had seen it in her nightmares since the night the men in black told her daddy was never coming home. She saw his fingers curl around the glass. She saw the bartender, a man named Paul who always gave her a free cherry for her soda, wipe the same spot on the bar over and over. Paul wouldn't look at the biker. He looked nervous. Lily remembered a TV show. Someone put something in a drink. The person got sick, very sick. Crank lifted the glass. Lily slid out of the booth. Her mother, Elena, was in the restroom. Lily walked straight to the big, scary man in the leather vest. She stopped right next to his knee. He glanced down, annoyed. Then he froze. He knew those eyes. He saw them in the photo he'd found in David's wallet, now burned but seared into his memory. His blood went cold. "Don't drink that," Lily whispered, her voice barely a breath. Crank stared at her, his heart hammered against his ribs. He looked from her pale, serious face to the glass in his hand. Slowly, very slowly, he turned his head and looked at the bartender, Paul. Paul met his gaze for a split second. Then Paul's eyes flicked away, down to the glass, then back to the rag in his hands. It was a look of pure guilt, a look of fear. It all clicked. The club, the Reapers, they handled dirty jobs for the Rossi family. He'd been sending money to a post office box for Elena and Lily every month. Cash, anonymous. He thought he was being careful, but someone had noticed. The Reapers didn't allow charity. They saw it as theft from the club's earnings, and the punishment for theft was death. A quiet, accident-like death, poison in his ritual drink. The glass felt like a live snake in his hand. He put it down, carefully, on the counter. The ice cubes clinked. "Why?" he asked Lily, his voice a rough scrape. "The man behind the bar looked funny when he made it," she said simply. "He was scared of you." At that moment, Elena came out of the restroom. She saw her daughter talking to the mountain of leather and menace. Her face went white. "Lily, come here right now." Lily looked at Crank one more time, then obeyed her mother. Elena clutched Lily to her side, her eyes wide with terror, and hurried out of the diner into the night. Crank stood up. He threw a 20 on the counter. He looked straight at Paul. "Tell them I'll be seeing them," he said, his voice low and deadly calm. He walked out. He didn't get on his bike. He stood in the shadows of the alley next to the diner and watched. He saw Elena and Lily get into an old, beat-up sedan and drive away. He memorized the license plate. He knew where they lived. He'd been sending envelopes to their apartment building for a year. His mind raced. The club knew. They had tried to kill him. He was a dead man if he went back. But if he ran, they would find him, and they would use Elena and Lily to do it. They would hurt them to get to him, because now his secret was out. The ghost had a name and a face, and he had just saved his life. He had to fix this. He had to protect them. It was the only way to quiet the ghost for good. He followed their car from a distance. It led him to a tired-looking apartment complex on the south side. He watched the lights go on in a second-floor unit. He saw Elena's shadow move past the window, pulling the curtains shut. Crank knew what he had to do. He had to burn his old life to the ground to save theirs, but he couldn't do it alone. He rode to a different part of town, to a garage that wasn't a Reaper's haunt. It was a neutral place. Inside, he found a man named Marcus, an old friend who had left the life but still knew how to get things. "I need a clean gun, untraceable, and a car, not my bike," Crank said, slapping cash on the workbench. Marcus looked at the money, then at Crank's face. Trouble, brother. The deepest kind. I'm cashing out. Meanwhile, back at the Reapers clubhouse, President Jax was getting impatient. Paul, the bartender, had called. The poison hadn't been drunk. Crank was spooked, and he had talked to some woman and kid. Find him, Jax ordered two of his most loyal men, Griffin and Diesel. He's gone soft. He's stealing from the club to play daddy. Bring him in, and find out who that woman was. The hunt was on. Crank, in a stolen sedan, parked where he could watch Alina's apartment. He saw the curtain twitch. He saw Lily's small face peek out before Alina pulled her back. He felt a pain in his chest. He had caused this fear. He needed to talk to her, to Alina, to explain. But how do you explain that you murdered a woman's husband and now you need to save her? He decided to write a note. Simple, direct. He found a piece of paper and a pen. He wrote, "You are in danger because of me. The men I work for want to hurt you to get to me. I am sorry for everything. I will fix this. Do not open the door for anyone. A friend will watch the building. His name is Marcus. He drives a blue truck. Trust him." He signed it with a single letter, C. He waited until deep night. He moved like a ghost, slipping into the apartment building's unlocked lobby. He slid the note under their door. He heard a gasp from inside, then silence. The next morning, Alina found the note. Her hands shook. She read it again and again. Danger. The men he works for. She thought of the biker in the diner, the one Lily had talked to. He looked like death itself. Was he the danger, or was he the one warning her? She peeked out the window. Down on the street, a man in a blue truck was parked. He was reading a newspaper. He looked ordinary. He looked up as if he felt her gaze and gave a small, single nod. She didn't know what to do. She called her sister, Jessica, crying, saying she thought they were being stalked. Jessica told her to call the police, but Alina was afraid. Her husband had gotten mixed up with bad people. What if the police were part of it? While Alina was paralyzed with fear, Crank was working. He drove to a storage unit he kept under a fake name. Inside was his get-out-of-town fund, cash, fake IDs, and weapons. He took it all. He then drove to a place the Reapers used to stash drugs before a big sale. It was a warehouse on the industrial docks. He knew the security schedule. He waited for the shift change, then he moved in. He wasn't there to steal the drugs. He was there to destroy them. He poured gasoline over the stacks of boxes. He lit a match and threw it. The explosion was huge. Orange fire lit up the dawn sky. It was a declaration of war, a multi-million-dollar loss for the Reapers and the Rossi family. The message was clear. Crank was not hiding. He was attacking. President Jax got the call at the clubhouse. He slammed his phone against the wall. He burned the Riverside warehouse. He roared, "That traitorous dog, I want his head, and I want that woman and kid now." Griffin and Diesel had already been digging. They found Alina's name connected to the bookkeeper, David. Bingo, they knew who she was. They raced to her apartment. Alina saw two mean-looking men on motorcycles pull up. They weren't wearing vests, but they looked just like the man from the diner. They started walking toward her building door. Her heart jumped into her throat. She grabbed Lily and ran to the bathroom, locking the door, her phone in her hand. She didn't call the police. She looked at the note, "Trust him." She scrolled through her recent calls. She had called her sister. She had called her mom. There was one unknown number from a few days ago, a wrong number. In a moment of pure instinct, she typed a text to that number. "They are here, 2 men, at my door." Downstairs, Griffin was buzzing apartment doors randomly. Someone let them in. They started pounding on Alina's door. "Open up, we just want to talk." Crank was driving when his phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't know, but he knew the address in his mind. It was her address. The text could only be from Alina. He turned the car around and floored it. He was 10 minutes away, too long. He called Marcus in the blue truck. "Marcus, they're at the door, stop them." Marcus, who had been watching, saw the 2 bikers enter. He sighed, put down his newspaper, and reached under his seat for a baseball bat. He wasn't a killer, but he could make a distraction. He got out and walked into the building lobby. "Hey," he shouted at Griffin and Diesel, who were now trying to kick in Alina's door. "You two clowns making a racket, I'm trying to sleep." Griffin turned, annoyed. "Beat it, old man." "This is my building," Marcus lied, walking closer. "You beat it." He swung the bat, not to hit them, but to smash the fire alarm glass on the wall. A deafening, shrieking alarm filled the building. Lights flashed. Doors upstairs started opening, people coming out confused. "What did you do?" Diesel yelled over the noise. The commotion gave Alina the courage to act. She grabbed Lily, unlocked the bathroom, and ran to the fire escape window in her bedroom. She pushed it open. "Go, Lily, down, don't look down." Lily, terrified but obedient, climbed out onto the rusty ladder. Alina followed. Crank's sedan screeched to a halt in the alley just as Alina's feet hit the ground. He threw the passenger door open. "Get in." Alina didn't hesitate. She pushed Lily into the back seat and jumped in the front. Crank hit the gas, peeling away just as Griffin and Diesel burst into the alley from the front of the building. "Go, go, go," Alina screamed, looking back. Crank drove fast, turning down side streets, his eyes constantly checking the mirrors. No one was following, for now. He drove to a cheap motel on the edge of the city. He paid cash for a room. The three of them went inside. It was dark and smelled of old cigarettes. The moment the door closed, Alina turned on him. "Who are you?" she demanded, putting herself between him and Lily. "What is happening? That note, you said you were sorry. Sorry for what?" Crank stood by the door, his head bowed. The weight of it all pressed down on him. He could lie, he could make up a story, but he was tired of lies. "My name is Crank," he said, his voice hollow. "A year ago, I was sent to kill a man named David, a bookkeeper. I did it." He forced himself to look at her. "I killed your husband." The words hung in the stale air. Alina's face crumpled. She staggered back as if he'd hit her. Lily stared, her eyes huge. "You," Alina whispered, the word full of horror. "You're the one, the money, the envelopes." Crank nodded, a single, sharp movement. "I couldn't sleep. I saw your picture, his picture. I started sending it. My club found out. They see the money as theirs. They tried to poison me today. In the diner, your daughter, she stopped me. She saved my life." He looked at Lily. "Now they know about you. They will use you to get to me. I have to protect you. I have to make them stop. It's the only way." Alina sank onto the edge of the bed, her body shaking with sobs. Hate, fear, and a terrible, confusing gratitude twisted inside her. This man was her husband's killer, and now he was their only hope. "What do we do?" she finally asked, her voice broken. "I'm going to end this," Crank said, "but I need to know you're safe. I have a place. A cabin up north, isolated. I can take you there tonight. You'll have food, supplies. You stay there no matter what, until I come for you, or until you get a message from Marcus." "And then what?" Alina asked, looking up, her eyes red. "You die, we live in hiding forever." "Then we see," Crank said. There was no easy answer. They drove through the night. Lily fell asleep in the back. Alina stared out the window in silence. The tension in the car was a thick, painful thing, but underneath the horror, a strange connection was forming. Bound by trauma, by survival, by the tiny, brave girl in the back seat. Just before dawn, they reached the cabin. It was small, dusty, but sturdy. Crank showed Alina the canned food, the generator, the rifle and ammunition locked in a closet. "Just in case," he said. He was about to leave. He stood at the door. Alina stood facing him. "Why are you doing this?" she asked again, searching his face. "Really?" Crank looked past her at Lily sleeping on the couch. "For a long time, I was just a tool. I did what I was told. Then I saw her, and I saw you, and I realized I took something beautiful from the world. I can't give it back, but I can stop anything else from being taken." He met her eyes. "I'm doing it because it's the first right thing I've done in my life." He turned to go. "Crank," Alina said. He paused. She didn't thank him. She couldn't. But she said, "Come back." She shouldn't have to see another man die because of her. He gave a stiff nod and walked out into the cold morning. He had a war to fight, alone. Crank drove back to the city with a cold fire in his gut. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was hunting. His first target was information. He needed to know how much the Reapers and the Rosses knew and what they planned to do next. He went to a woman named Mercy. Mercy ran a nail salon that was a front for the city's best information network. Hairdressers heard everything. Crank had done a job for her once, protecting her from a rival. She owed him. He walked into the empty salon just as she was opening. Mercy was a sharp woman in her 50s with eyes that missed nothing. "Crank, you look like hell," she said, not smiling. "I need to know what Jax and the Rosses are saying. About me, about a woman and a girl." Mercy lit a cigarette. "It's not good," Jax is furious. "You burning that warehouse cost the Rosses a fortune. Antonio Rossi himself is asking questions. Jax told him you stole from the club and went rogue. They've put a price on your head, $50,000. Crank absorbed this, and the woman. Mercy's eyes softened a fraction. "They know she's the bookkeeper's widow, David. They think you have a conscience problem. They're using her as bait. They're watching her old apartment, her sister's place, her mother's house. They're waiting for you to try to contact her again." "They won't find her," Crank said. "Good, because if they catch her, they won't just kill her, Crank. They'll make it slow, to draw you out. They know it's your weak spot now." It was what he feared. He had to make them stop looking. He had to make them focus only on him. "Where is Jax right now?" Crank asked. "He's laying low at his mistress's place. Jennifer, over on Willow Street, thinks nobody knows, thinks he's safe." Mercy gave him the address. "What are you going to do?" "Send a message," Crank said. He left the salon. He went back to his storage locker and got what he needed. Not a gun, something louder. Meanwhile, at the cabin, Elena was trying to stay calm for Lily. They ate canned soup. Lily was quiet. "Mommy, is that man a bad man?" Lily asked, pushing her soup around. Elena didn't know how to answer. "He did a very bad thing, honey, a long time ago, but he's trying to do a good thing now to protect us. Because I told him not to drink the poison." "Yes," Elena said, her heart aching. "Because of that. Does that make him a good guy now?" "People aren't just good or bad, Lily. They're complicated. He's helping us. That's what matters right now." Back in the city, night fell. Crank parked a few blocks from the address on Willow Street. It was a nice townhouse. Jax's bike wasn't outside, but his mistress's car was. Crank didn't plan to go inside. He planned to get Jax's attention. He took the pipe bomb he had made, crude but effective, from his bag. He timed the fuse for 30 seconds. He lit it, placed it carefully under the shiny red sports car in the driveway, and ran. He was 2 streets over when the explosion rocked the quiet neighborhood. The car didn't just explode, it became a fireball, shattering the townhouse's windows and setting the garage on fire. Sirens began to wail in the distance. Crank watched from the shadows. He saw the front door fly open. Jax, wearing only boxer shorts, stumbled out, pulling a screaming Jennifer behind him. He stared at the burning wreckage of the car, his face twisted in rage and fear. He knew this wasn't an accident. This was Crank saying, "I know where you sleep." Crank's phone, a cheap burner, rang. He answered. It was Marcus. "Turn on the news, you crazy son of a gun," Marcus said, a hint of awe in his voice. Crank found a bar with a TV. The explosion was the top story. The reporter called it a suspicious gas leak. But in the background, Crank saw Jax talking to a detective, his face purple with anger. Perfect. The next call came 10 minutes later. It was from a blocked number. Crank knew who it was. He answered. "Jax." "You're a dead man, Crank." Jax snarled. "You think blowing up a car scares me?" "No," Crank said calmly. "I think it tells you I'm not playing hide and seek. I'm coming for you. Tell Antonio Rossi his money is gone. The warehouse is gone. You're next. Leave the woman and the girl out of it. This is between you and me." "You don't get to make demands," Jax yelled. "You stole from the club. You have a death sentence." "The club is rotten, Jax, and you're the core. I'm cutting it out. Meet me tomorrow night at the old scrapyard, just you and me, no crew. We settle this like we used to. Winner walks, loser gets shredded." There was a long silence. Jax was proud. He was also scared, but he couldn't back down in front of his men. A one-on-one fight was his best chance to regain respect. "Fine," Jack spat. "Tomorrow midnight you show you die." The line went dead. Crank knew it was a trap. Jax would never come alone. But that was okay. Crank wasn't coming alone either. He called Marcus again. "I need one more favor, the biggest one." The next day was a long wait. Crank slept fitfully in a different motel. He cleaned his guns. He thought about the cabin. He thought about Elena's exhausted, beautiful face. He thought about Lily's serious eyes. He couldn't die. He had to finish this. As night fell, he drove toward the scrapyard. It was a maze of crushed cars and twisted metal, lit by a single, flickering security light. He parked a mile away and walked in. He carried a pistol in his waistband and a knife in his boot. He moved silently between the mountains of scrap. He saw Jax first. The president was standing in a clearing near the giant car crusher machine. He looked big and mean in his cut, but Crank's sharp eyes saw the shadows moving behind piles of metal. At least 3, maybe 4 men Jax had brought back up. Crank stopped at the edge of the clearing. "You said just you and me, Jax." Jax smirked. "I lied. You're a traitor. You don't get rules." He raised his hand. The shadows stepped out. Griffin, Diesel, and 2 other Reapers. They all had guns drawn, pointed at Crank. Crank didn't move. "You always were a coward." "Kill him," Jax said simply. But before anyone could pull a trigger, a new voice cut through the night. A loud, commanding voice from a loudspeaker. "This is the state police. Drop your weapons. You are surrounded." Bright spotlights snapped on from all around the scrapyard fence, blinding the Reapers. They froze, confused, shielding their eyes. "Police? How?" Crank didn't freeze. He dove behind a stack of rusted tires as the first panicked shot rang out from a Reaper. That was all the police needed. Gunfire erupted, not from Crank, from the police. They had been tipped off about a major arms deal going down at the scrapyard, an anonymous call from a concerned citizen, Marcus, following Crank's instructions. The Reapers were caught in a crossfire of their own making. Griffin went down screaming, hit in the leg. Diesel tried to run and was tackled by a police dog. Jax, realizing the trap, turned his gun toward Crank's hiding spot. Crank was ready. As Jax fired, Crank rolled and came up with his own pistol. 2 shots, both hit Jax in the shoulder. Jax dropped his gun, howling in pain. Chaos reigned for 3 minutes. When it was over, the Reapers were in handcuffs. Jax was bleeding on the ground, cursing Crank's name to the police. Crank had slipped away in the confusion, melting into the dark maze of metal before the police could secure the area. He had used them, and they had served their purpose. The Reapers' leadership was in custody, caught with illegal weapons. The club was shattered. But one problem remained: Antonio Rossi. The mafia boss wouldn't care about a biker fight. He cared about his lost money, and he would still see Elena and Lily as loose ends. Crank had one last move, the most dangerous one. He had to talk to Rossi himself. He used Mercy to get a message to the Rossi family. "I have information on who really stole from you. I want to deal alone." To his surprise, he got a reply. "A time and place, noon tomorrow, a public place, the Botanical Gardens." It was a risk. Rossi could have him killed there easily, but it was the only way. That night he drove back to the cabin. He had to see them. He had to know they were okay. He knocked softly on the cabin door. He heard the click of the rifle's safety being switched off inside. "It's me," he said quietly. The door opened. Elena stood there, the rifle pointed at the floor. She looked tired but strong. Lily was asleep in the loft. Crank, Elena's eyes searched his face. "What happened?" "It's almost over," he said, stepping inside. "The Reapers are done, but the man they worked for, Rossi, is still out there. I'm meeting him tomorrow." Elena's hand flew to her mouth. "No, that's suicide. It's the only way to make him leave you alone forever. I have a deal to offer him." "What kind of deal?" Crank didn't answer. He looked up at the loft where Lily slept. "Is she okay?" "She asks about you," Elena said softly. The air between them changed. The charged chemistry, held back by fear and hate, now sparked in the quiet safety of the cabin. They were alone, bound by this terrible secret. She wants to know if the scary man is safe. Crank looked at Alina. In the lamplight, she was beautiful. He saw the strength it took to not hate him, to survive. He took a step closer. "I'm not safe, Alina. I never will be, but after tomorrow, you might be." She was close enough to touch. He could see the pulse fluttering in her throat. Her eyes dropped to his lips, then back to his eyes. The attraction was a physical pull, a desperate need for connection in a world gone mad. He raised a hand slowly and brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. His touch was rough but gentle. She didn't pull away. She leaned into it, her eyes closing for a second. "Crank," she whispered. He didn't kiss her. It wouldn't be right. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But the moment hung between them, heavy with everything unsaid, forgiveness, desire, a future that felt impossible. He stepped back, breaking the spell. "I have to go. I'll be back after tomorrow. If I'm not, Marcus will come. He'll get you new identities, money. You can start over." "Don't," Alina said, tears in her eyes. "Don't say goodbye, just come back." He gave her one last, long look, then turned and walked out into the night, leaving her standing in the doorway, her heart beating a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The botanical gardens were deceptively peaceful. Sunshine, flowers, the quiet chatter of families. Crank sat on a bench in the rose garden, feeling completely exposed. He wore a simple jacket, a pistol a heavy weight against his spine. He didn't wait long. Two large men in suits walked down the path. Between them was Antonio Rossi. He was older, sharp-faced, dressed in a fine coat. He looked like a businessman, not a monster. He sat on the opposite end of Crank's bench. His bodyguard stood a few feet away, watching everything. "You are the biker," Rossi said, not looking at him. "You cost me a great deal of money." "Your money was already gone," Crank said, his voice flat. "Jax was skimming from the warehouse for months. I have proof, bank transfers, a ledger. He was setting you up to take the fall when the feds finally looked too close." This was a bluff, but Crank had spent the night forging documents with Mercy's help, good enough to plant doubt. Rossi's eyes flickered. "Jax is in police custody. He cannot defend himself from these claims." "Exactly," Crank said. "He's the perfect patsy, and now he's out of your hair. The warehouse problem is solved. The loose end is me." "And the woman," Rossi said softly, "the bookkeeper's widow." Crank's blood ran cold, but he kept his face still. "She is nothing, a ghost. She knows nothing. Jax used her to try and control me because he thought I'd gone soft. She is irrelevant to your business." Rossi was silent for a long minute, watching a bee land on a rose. "You wish to make a deal. What do you offer?" "My silence," Crank said, "and my service. Jax is gone. The Reapers are broken. You need a new crew for delicate work. A small, quiet crew. I can be that. I'm good at what I do. You know that. But the woman and the girl are off limits. Forever, they vanish. You never look for them. That is my price." Rossi chuckled, a dry sound. "You are in no position to set prices. I could have my men take you apart right here." "You could," Crank agreed. "But the proof of Jax's theft, and where he hid some remaining assets you didn't know about, that gets emailed to the FBI and the IRS if I don't check in with my associate every 6 hours. Blowing me up blows up your remaining cash flow." It was a dangerous gamble, calling a mafia boss's bluff. Rossi studied him. He saw a man with nothing to lose, a tool but a sharp one, a man motivated by something other than greed. That made him predictable, controllable. "A trial period," Rossi said finally. "1 year, you work for me, you are loyal, you are quiet. The woman and the child are forgotten. You break the agreement or you fail me, we find them, and we start with the little girl's fingers." Crank felt a surge of nausea, but he nodded. "Agreed." "Start Monday," Rossi said, standing up. He didn't offer a handshake. He just walked away, his bodyguards falling in step. Crank sat on the bench until his hands stopped shaking. It was done. A devil's bargain. He had sold his soul again, but this time to buy their heaven. He drove back to the cabin. This time, when Alina opened the door, he didn't stand on the threshold. He walked in, took her face in his hands, and kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It was a kiss of desperation, of victory, of terrible sacrifice. It was all the charged moments finally exploding. Elena gasped, then kissed him back, her fingers tangling in his jacket, pulling him closer. It was hungry and full of a love born from ashes. When they broke apart, both were breathless. Lily was watching from the loft, her eyes wide. "Is it over?" Elena whispered. "For you, yes," Crank said, resting his forehead against hers. Rossi agreed. "You are safe. You can never go back to your old life, but you can build a new one, somewhere far away." Elena heard the catch in his voice. "What about you?" "I have a new job, for him, for 1 year, to make sure he keeps his word." "No," Elena said, pulling back, horror dawning. "Crank, no, you can't." "It's the only way," he said, his voice rough. "Don't you see, if I run with you, he'll hunt us forever. This way he gets what he wants, a loyal dog, and you get what you need, a life. After a year, we'll see." It was a terrible plan, but it was the only one they had. 2 days later, a new identity arrived for Elena and Lily via Marcus. Passports, birth certificates, a bank account with a starter fund, Crank's remaining money. A one-way ticket to a small town in Oregon. The goodbye at the bus station was the hardest thing Crank had ever done. Lily hugged his legs tightly. "Will you visit us, Mr. Crank?" He knelt, his throat tight. "I will try, kid. You be good for your mom, study hard, no talking to strangers." She nodded seriously. "Okay." He stood and faced Elena. Tears streamed down her face. She kissed him, a soft, salty kiss full of promise. "1 year," she said fiercely, "then you come find us, no matter what." 1 year, he promised. He watched the bus pull away until it was a speck on the horizon. The ghost of David was quiet now, replaced by a new, living ache. The year passed in a blur of dark, dirty work. Crank was Rossi's ghost, efficient, quiet. He hated every job, but he did them perfectly. He kept his head down. He checked in with Marcus every week for updates on Oregon. A postcard would arrive sometimes, no return address, just a picture of mountains or the sea. The handwriting was Elena's. He lived for those postcards. Rossi, satisfied with his new tool, eventually kept his word. The searches stopped. Elena and Lily truly vanished. On the day the year ended, Crank went to Rossi's office. He placed his gun and his knife on the desk. "My year is up. I'm leaving." Rossi looked up, surprised. He had assumed Crank was now a permanent fixture. He saw the resolve in the man's eyes. He could force him to stay, but a forced tool is a dangerous one. "You have been useful," Rossi said slowly. "If you leave, you can never come back, and you speak of nothing, ever." "Understood," Crank said. Rossi nodded, a final dismissal. Crank walked out of the office, out of the building, and into the sun. He felt lighter than he had in a decade. He didn't own a bike anymore. He bought a simple, reliable car. He drove west for 3 days straight, following the address on the last postcard. He found them in a small house with a blue door, on a street lined with pine trees. Elena was in the garden. Lily, taller now, was riding a bike on the sidewalk. Crank parked and got out. He stood by the car, unsure. Elena looked up. She dropped her gardening trowel. For a moment, they just stared. Then she ran. She flew across the lawn and into his arms. He held her so tightly he thought he might break her, burying his face in her hair. Lily skidded her bike to a stop. A huge smile broke across her face. "You came." "I told you I'd try," Crank said, his voice thick. That night, after Lily was asleep, Crank and Elena sat on the porch. The air between them was no longer charged with danger, but with a peaceful, deep warmth. "Is it really over?" Elena asked, leaning her head on his shoulder. "It's over," he said, wrapping an arm around her. "I'm just a man now, with a lot to make up for." "You already have," she whispered, "by coming home." He wasn't a biker, he wasn't a killer, he wasn't a nomad, he was just Crank, and for the first time in his life, he was exactly where he was supposed to be. Thank you for watching. Would you have trusted the little girl's warning, or would you have drunk the poison? Subscribe and tell me where you're watching from. Your city could be the next setting for a story where one brave choice changes everything forever.